Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this video, I just want to go over a slew of books that I think might be helpful for those who are participating in the When in Rome Readathon event. Now, this is a readathon that I just found out in the past couple of days, but I'm super excited. I'm not quite sure why I didn't think of doing a Roman-based readathon at some point in the past, but anyways, this was created by Faith over at Faith and Books. And it's co-hosted along with Mark at Book Time with Elvis, Matt from Bask in the Story, and Steve from Steve Donahue. And this is a readathon event that's going over the months of March and April. I'm going to leave their announcement videos down below as well, so you can go check those out. But the gist is, over the 2 months, just the idea is just to read kind of anything sort of related to Rome, Roman history. It could be fiction, nonfiction, primary sources, novels, anything like that. So pretty much anything goes. But yeah, if you follow the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I have a lot of like Greco-Roman histories and classical histories and stuff. I had to kind of wheedle it down a little bit, so I have no idea really how I'm gonna do this video, to be honest. I just have a stack of books right here, but I'm vaguely gonna kind of go. There's a lot of other reading events that I'm trying to like incorporate these into as well. We got March of the Mammoths in March. We got People April, which is like social histories and biographies and memoirs in April. Historathon is going on all year, and quarter 1 through March is up to 500 AD and stuff. So all kinds of good stuff kind of going on, but let's just try to figure something out. Let's get started. All right, so I'm just going to go over the last 3 books that I read. And where's Pertinax? I just read it, and it's not even in my pot. Oh yeah, never mind. I lied. Okay, it's right here. I'm going to go over the last 3 books that I read, just as something. We got Simon Eliot's Pertinax, the son of a slave who became Roman emperor. And I'm probably not going to go in tons and tons of detail in like some of these blurbs, just because it's going to take forever. Because I got, I think, 10 here, or a dozen there. And then I got like 5 or 6 more written down. It's just going to be a 100-hour video if we if I don't cut it down a little bit. But anyways, you might be going, Justin, who was Pertinax? Well, that's why you should read it, because he was an emperor. He was an emperor for 87 days before the Praetorian Guard kind of offed him for, wanting to follow the rules and stuff. And that kind of leads into the next one, which is Praetorian, The Rise and Fall of Rome's Imperial Bodyguard by Guy de la Baidoyer. I have to look that up if it's like French or something, but anyways, this, as you know from the title, is a history of the Praetorian Guard, who were theoretically kind of like, the bodyguards of the emperor and stuff. But more often than not, they ended up shanking them, or, kind of plotted against them. After Pertinax was assassinated, they literally held the office of emperorship up for auction, like no joke, and they just sold it to the highest bidder, which happened to be Didius Julianus. So yeah, if you want to learn more about that, check that one out as well. And all the ones that I'm recommending are at least like pretty good. I'm not going to recommend, books that I thought were terrible. So, they might not all be like, amazing, super gold 5-star reads, but definitely learned a lot from pretty much all of these. I probably still will be doing my 2023 kind of best of classical history video soon as well. But anyways, and then the third most recent Roman, well, this is kind of like tangentially Roman, but it's Children of Athena, which, sounds Greek, but it's Greek intellectuals in the Age of Rome, 250 BC to 480 by Charles Freeman. I really enjoyed this one. It's kind of like little snippets and vignettes of pretty much all the famous like Greek thinkers and philosophers and everything during that time period, which was kind of like the heyday of like kind of Roman hegemony over the Mediterranean world. So it's just kind of interesting seeing the development of intellectual change like over the course of time in that era, as compared to kind of the Hellenistic and then the kind of the golden age of Greece before that. All right, so there's the most recent ones. So now let's go on to some March of the Mammoths titles. So technically, they're supposed to be over 800 pages. I actually went through pretty much all my Roman histories. I don't think I had a single one that's like an actual book. I think some of these like classical dictionaries and stuff are over 800 pages. And I'm sure you could get some primary sources that are over 800 as well. But let's just start here with Livy. And the three I'm going to recommend here are like in the 700s, but if they give you a hard time, just tell them I sent you for March of the Mammoths. The first one here is Livy. This is my cool like Follow Society edition. I gotta get like the rest of the set, which has like all the different panoplies of armor for like different Greco-Roman historians and stuff. But Livy's I want to say it's either Livy or Tacitus that are probably the most famous authors of just like straight up like Roman history. Livy's a little more like kind of in the vein of Herodotus a little bit, not quite as like, as crazy with like the anecdotes and stuff, whereas Tacitus is a little more like Thucydides. It's kind of straightforward, kind of dry, boring history, but like much more methodical, if that makes sense. But anyways, this one is books, I think 1 through 5, or is it 1 through 10? Oh, I lied. I have the War with Hannibal, duh, because I have all my Punic Wars stuff. I don't actually know if that gets in the... Yeah, I think it does. I got my Punic Wars shelf right there. I'm really interested in the Punic Wars, so I think there'll be like a recommendation or two. Read a book on Hannibal. That'll earn brownie points with me pretty much any day of the week. But anyways, not all of like Livy's books. I want to say, if I remember correctly, it was like 140 something books or something like that, and only a couple dozen have like come down to us. But anyways, okay, so that's the first one. Next one up is only like in the 700s as well. It's Peter Heather's Empires and Barbarians, The Fall of Rome and the Birth of Europe. This felt like over 1,000 pages, though. This is really dry, but super informative. It's kind of like, when you see the charts of like all the barbarian migrations, during the fall of Rome and stuff. This is kind of like the super in-depth analysis of, is that like actually accurate and true, and how did that like really work in real life and everything. So there's a lot of like kind of demographic and population studies and kind of the different movements like over time of different barbarian peoples and stuff during kind of the later couple of centuries of an imperial decline, maybe from the crisis of the 3rd century onwards. I learned a ton. Definitely not for the faint of heart. I would count that as a mammoth for sure. And then lastly, apparently, I have Will and Ariel Durant's Story of Civilization, like up on I have a top shelf up here. The Caesar and Christ, which is the Roman one, the Roman history volume, is actually, I think, 752 pages. So it doesn't quite meet mammoth status, but I think it's definitely kind of in that vein. This is one of the only ones on this video. I think this might be the only one in the video that I haven't actually read. So if you've ever read any of these Story of Civilization books, let me know if they're worth the read. I feel like having all these history books, like when I saw them at a library sale or something, I had to pick them up. And I was like, do I like actually take the time to read these, even though they're like 100 years old now? I don't know. They used to be pretty popular. I don't know if they really are anymore, and I don't really see many people talking about them. But if you do know, and if you've read some of them, let me know how they were down in the comments below. All right, so those were some mammoth books. Now, we also have, I got here, my favorite primary source. Might as well throw this one in here since we talked about Livy a little bit. We got Polybius. He's my favorite, primary source historian on Rome, or ancient Rome. See, if you don't know who Polybius was, after the Romans kind of defeated Greece, they took a bunch of like aristocratic hostages, and Polybius happened to be one of them. He became friends with Scipio Africanus from the Second Punic War fame. His adopted son, so his adopted like grandson technically. He became like best friends with him, and he became kind of the conqueror of Carthage in the Third Punic War. So he had a lot of kind of ins and outs, and eyewitness accounts and the inside sources and stuff. And I got this one is one of the Oxford World's Classics, which I like this style a little bit more than like the Penguin Classics and stuff. But like I said, he's just like one of my favorite ones. And he also deals a lot with the Punic Wars up to a certain point, because it just the narrative just kind of cuts off because we just been like lost to time and stuff. Anyways, highly recommend that one for a primary source. So let's just go on to a couple, I guess, general histories, if I can try to like not knock them like all over. Maybe I'm just gonna end up knocking those all over, aren't I? Oh my goodness. Okay. So, one of the ones that I read a long, long time ago, we got History of Rome by Michael Grant. And this was, I think this used to kind of be like the de facto, kind of just general, all-purpose History of Rome book that a lot of people kind of got into. I think it was written around like 1980, 1978. I really enjoyed it I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember it that much because this would have been like either high school, early college, something like that. So quite a while for me. That has been kind of superseded by Mary Beard's SPQR, History of Ancient Rome. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like the super biggest fan of this one. Kind of looking back on it with 2020 hindsight and stuff, I can see why it's definitely going to become kind of the new, just when someone asks, oh, where do I start reading on the history of Rome? This is why this is the book that gets recommended a lot, and probably for good reason. I will say, with the wreath, triumphal wreath here, it's just a very nice, pleasing aesthetic book, though, I'm not gonna lie. And Mary Beard is pretty good. You've probably seen her like on TV stuff and all kinds of things like that. And then for another kind of generalish history, one that's a little bit more focused, I got From the Grot Guide to Nero, History of Rome from 133 to 68 AD, and this is by H.H. Scullard. And Scullard has quite a few works on Roman history, and excuse me, where was I going with this? This is kind of covering like the tumultuous time period of like just the whole culture shift. We had like, this is kind of like the era of, the warlords between, we got obviously like Julius Caesar, Gaius Marius, Sulla, stuff like that. All the way through, all the civil wars, the two triumvirates, and then kind of the rise of imperial power, obviously going up to like the death of Nero. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit more focused, but still actually a pretty chunky work. Even though it looks really big, it's only like 400-something pages for, I guess it's just like thick paper. But anyways, I really enjoyed this one reading it back in college, and I think he has a couple other history books as well, though I cannot. I honestly don't know what the other ones are, but I've seen him around in like a lot of footnotes and stuff, so I think he's pretty well regarded, and I really enjoyed it. If you've been sticking around this long, you might see some of my cool Roman Latin signs here. We got Inveniam viam aut fatium, which is something supposedly Hannibal said, which you'd find out in Livy, which is, I'll either find a way or make one, when he was crossing the Alps with his elephants, and he kind of came across a blocked path. But anyways, we also got, Seize the Day with Carpe Diem here. And if you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is to check out my Etsy shop. I'm doing my Facebook and Instagram shops as well, starting those up like pretty right off now. Just liking some items and favoriting the shop and all that kind of stuff just definitely helps me, and like the algorithms and all that. And that's definitely the best way, besides just, liking and subscribing and commenting and all that stuff. But anyways, let's just go on to just some more histories. I guess this is kind of like a generalist history, but as you can see, I do have like a Punic War shelf up there, but probably one of my favorite books just on the Punic Wars in general, covering all of them, is Mastering the West by Dexter Hoyos, Rome and Carthage at War. He's probably the world's most preeminent scholar on the Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage, and this is just kind of a nice kind of overview work that covers. It doesn't go into every single weed and overturning every rock. When you read some kind of scholarly works, it kind of just turns into, like I said, you just kind of go off on these wild goose chases that don't really seem to mean anything. But he covers all the information that I feel like you would need to understand what's going on, and just enough tangents to kind of keep you interested. Things like that. Just really enjoy it. This is the one I would recommend. Pretty much out of all these, though, I got I think I have 3 or 4 separate biographies of Hannibal up there. Like I said, read a Hannibal book. Let me know in the comments if you ever do on any video, and you will earn some respect from me. For a just kind of a general military history, I guess, we have Stephen Dando Collins' Legions of Rome, the definitive history of every imperial Roman legion. So this is obviously not dealing a lot with the Republican era and stuff, but it basically just goes legion by legion, dealing with pretty much their little lore, how they originated, kind of what campaigns they were on that we know of, and that kind of thing. And this one is pretty popular, and rightly so. Just it is kind of a fun for people that really enjoy kind of more military histories and that sort of thing. And then let's see, one more kind of general history. I have my Oxford Very Short Introductions. I don't know if those show up in the video or not, but anyways, they got 800 titles. They do have one on the Roman Empire. They also have one on the Roman Republic. I want to say this was the second one I ever picked up by them. Um, I want to say late antiquity was my first one. But anyways, really enjoyed this one. And I generally like the Oxford Very Short Introductions just because it's a good way to kind of branch out into like something you might not have ever heard, and it's just super little snack size, so you don't get intimidated. All right, and then I got a few more here. We got People April coming up, which is all about social histories and biographies and memoirs and that sort of thing. I feel like it'd be an easy way. There's so many. I feel like there's a lot of biographies on ancient Romans, and just like looking over here, we had the Pertinax, we got Septimius Severus, another emperor, we got Hadrian, we got Cleopatra, we got Julius Caesar, Cicero, Cato. I feel like everyone, especially like kind of during the fall of the Republic era, just has like biographies like on them. So I just wanted to point out maybe a couple ones that are a little bit different. We have, let's see, I'm trying to think. I read one on the Emperor Heliogabalus. You're probably like, who the heck is that? Well, okay, well, if you're asking that, you probably should read it. He was a pretty crazy, crazy emperor before the crisis of the third century started. But there's also Caligula, the Mad Emperor of Rome. I thought that one was actually pretty fun. And then for another tasty one is Alaric the Goth. That will, I think, okay, Caligula. Did I write that down? I probably did. I should have wrote that down. That one was also by Stephen Dandle Collins. Alaric the Goth was by Douglas Boyne. I really enjoyed both of those. I'm just look at my things, so I don't have to keep grabbing it. All right. So, anyways, like I said, those are just some biographies I don't actually happen to have. One I really enjoyed, instead of reading just a Julius Caesar book, and I will say, overall, you can't really go wrong reading like an Anthony Everett book. Like he has a Cicero book here. He also has the war between, I forgot what it's called, the war for the Roman Empire between, I don't know what the actual title is. Anyways, it's about the civil war between Mark Antony and Octavian before he was Augustus. But we also have here, we got the death of Caesar. Did I say you can't go wrong with Adrian Goldsworthy either? Can't remember if I said that. Anyways, he's probably like one of the gold standard Roman historians. I know this video is just all over the place. It's a lot of information. That's why you gotta like pause and rewind, I guess. Anyways, if you're gonna read a Caesar book, I got two that are kind of in the same vein. We got The Death of Caesar by Barry Strauss. And then we also have The Assassination of Julius Caesar, A People's History of Ancient Rome by, was it Michael Parenti? Yes, it was. Both of these are kind of about, I guess that one is definitely a little bit more on the social history side, but I did prefer it to this one a little bit. But if everyone knows, Julius Caesar was assassinated, this is a really good book kind of explaining kind of the factors that went into that decision making, if that makes sense. Highly recommend both of them. But like I said, I did really enjoy the other one. I don't have a physical copy of that one. For a group of people, we got The Gladiators by Fick Major. I think he's Dutch or something, if I remember. So I apologize if I butchered your last name there. History's Most Deadly Sport. So this is kind of a cool just social history on literally like how did gladiators, how do you become a gladiator, how did they live, like what did they eat, what are all the different styles of gladiator forms that we know of, what was their life actually like. So it's kind of a social history of ludus or the ludus schools of gladiators in ancient Rome. So I like that one. And then lastly, last one here, one of my favorites is a biography of Mithridates the Great, the Poison King, the life and legend of Mithridates, Rome's deadliest enemy by Adrian Mayer. I feel like HBO and Stars and all them are missing out by not doing a show on Mithridates because it's just so much craziness going on with Mithridates. He fought, who did he fight? He fought Sulla, he fought Lucullus, and he fought Pompey. He did lose a lot of his battles, but he was like one of those guys that just always you could never count him out. And until obviously the very end. I think he was like 80 years old when he finally was kind of like overthrown and stuff. But you pretty much could never count him out. He could always just he had enough charisma and stuff just to always rally and bounce back. But he was the one who poisoned himself on purpose to become immune to assassination attempts through poison and whatnot. Just a lot of craziness kind of going on. I really, really enjoyed this book. This is actually one of my favorite Roman related. It's it's kind of tangent because he's a king of Pontus. But he was kind of before the Parthians were a big deal. or really substantial deal here. Well, I guess they still like were, but he was kind of establishing sort of like an Eastern kind of counterweight to like the Romans in the West. And obviously, Rome couldn't have that, and that's why he was kind of a thorn in their side for so long. But like I said, not he's kind of a topic a lot of people don't read about, so I'm really pleased that I found this a long time ago. Really, I read it, really enjoyed it, had fun with it, and I think you will too. All right, so there's a whole slew of Roman history related things. So definitely appreciate everyone who's putting this together. Like I said, I'll leave a link to their channels down below. Let me know if you like the looks of any of these tiles. If you don't like any of them, I'm sorry. I feel like I failed book 2 if there's not a single one. If you're interested in learning about the classical world of Rome, and there wasn't a single one in there. But anyways, I hope to see you guys in the next video. And whether you're reading books on ancient Rome or not, always remember, read victoriously.